So, with the episode 10, or I mean 11, there's a lot that we learn, and his community, they they did show a lot of support for him. Um, like the previous episode, it talked a lot about how they would rally funds for him and stuff like that. This was a small community and they supported him through funds, and I'm not sure how long it happened, but like the previous episode mentioned how his lawyer Christina, I feel like because of how bad the case seemed like it went with her abusing their funds, I feel like it should have been some sort of mistrial or ruled her out from the whole case and should have gone with a different um defender, public defense team. But other than that, episode 11, I thought it was really interesting because it did talk a lot about the people in his community, but it also mentioned how even though people in his community did support him and donated funds for his defense team and to help his legal battle, there were people who did say that he was not so great as you may think. He had a golden boy character because people saw him like a really good person. He was the perfect person to do these things like stealing money from the mosque and so on. And because how they mentioned his community was judgmental, um, a lot of people who could have like supported his alibi, they were afraid to speak up, and they wouldn't they didn't want to have accusations that they were involved in this case, and their community questioned them and saying what's with their involvement in the case. And that's very interesting how other members of the community may basically through that fear, um if someone like the members who talked about him stealing, when people of his community spoke out, they did so anonymously but also had their like voice altered and stuff like that. So the way that the case brought fear in this community was that through the mentions of like the minorities and stuff like that, like I want to say because how bad it was, people were scared to basically follow through the same steps as Adon did. Like when they mentioned a guy who often gave rides to a female classmate, and his father didn't want his son to be accused of a crime. That's how bad that case affected the community. That members of the community, you know, were scared to say something. For the next episode, I want to talk about something that was really interesting. They mentioned a lot about the phone and how it could have been a butt dial, and he I don't I didn't really understand that part, but like the charges and stuff like that from the phone, and possibly denying the thing that was that collaborated Jay's story. Another thing that I thought was really interesting was that when the prosecutor was interrogating one of the witnesses that they had, they really tried to get them to say something about Adon and basically fit their narrative and go with that and say he was a bad person and so on, which I thought that was really interesting how they used that method, or at least tried to. And that's pretty much it.